Chef Mark with Escoffier Online. Welcome to our online academy today. We're excited to have you as we welcome you each week at this time, 4:30 Central Daylight Time. And you know what? We can say with great conviction we are internationally acclaimed because we are in fact in 16 countries. We have students in 16 or 17 countries, and we welcome you if you're watching this tonight, although some may be asleep since it's night in the other part of the world. But we're building a community of cooks, and that's what's nice about Escoffier Online, International Culinary Academy. So we want to share our knowledge of food with you. We want you to ask questions and share your knowledge with us. So we have the chat open, as we always do. So if you're watching this show, just minimize your screen and put in a name, a pseudonym, whatever you want to put in there. Ask us questions. We're happy to ask questions on any topic that pertains to some of the things we're doing today and in the past. We've archived many of these live webcasts. They're fun to do. We like to do them. We like to cook. We like to cook with you. And we like to cook along with us. As we promised last week, this is Escoffier Techniques. Summer vegetables. We'll be doing 2 sessions of those. Of course, this one today, we're doing 2 great summer vegetables. I guess they're great depending on if they're available in your area, but the first one we like to do are the zucchini squash blossoms. They're beautiful. This time of year, they look like golden daffodils. They're in the market this week, next 2 weeks. As the zucchini grows in the garden, just as the blossoms come out, you pick them and they're beautiful, especially if they're grown locally, they'll be fresher, but for years, the French and the Italian chefs have used them. I first saw them in Italy some years ago in Florence, in a market. They're beautiful. Some are larger, some are smaller. So zucchini blossoms or squash blossoms, we're going to stuff them today and fry them. I was speaking with Chef Susie earlier, who'd been to Florence as well some years back, and said she fell in love with the zucchini blossoms, and as I have. One recipe is to take them and put them in flour, egg wash, and breadcrumbs like you see here, and pan fry them. That's an easy way to do it. You could also fill them, which we did, we've done today. So what I've taken is some ricotta or ricotta cheese, added some dried basil, salt, and pepper, and I actually cooked up some pancetta. And the pancetta, as you know, is Italian bacon. So I cooked that up, I chopped that up and added that. So it has a nice flavor. I actually used beef bacon, beef pancetta instead of pork. So it's really going to be very flavorful. I chopped it up and added a little lemon juice and salt and pepper to the ricotta, fresh ricotta cheese. And then I filled each of the zucchini blossoms with this wonderful cheese filling. And then I'm going to flour, egg wash, and breadcrumb them, and I have. So I floured them already. I put them in the egg wash, and I'm going to let them drain a little bit. I'm going to put them right onto the breadcrumbs, as you see right here. Now, when you're breading something, many times you can get your hands mixed into the wrong item. So make sure you keep one hand wet, one hand dry, right? So you may be keeping one hand in the cornflakes, right? One hand in you got breadcrumbs, could be cornmeal. Maybe you're doing shrimp, right? You're doing shrimp this way. It's a classic Escoffier recipe à l'anglaise, English style, which means deep fried. Also, Escoffier refers to vegetables like the dandelion greens as English style, meaning boiled. So I guess the British like boiled and fried things. Maybe that's a generalization, right? So one hand stays wet. So if you're doing shrimp, you're doing your stuffed zucchini blossoms, flour, egg wash. And I made some what we call live breadcrumbs, which means they're not dried, they're fresh. Earlier in the day, I took some bread out of the freezer, and I defrosted it, and I spun it in my food processor.
Can I use a tempered batter?
So someone asked, can I use a tempura batter? Yeah, tempura batter is very nice. So tempura requires the addition of dredging it in our little rice flour is very fine. And then in tempura batter, which means the tempura batter usually has some sparkling sake in it, or a little baking soda to give it that nice poof, a puffy texture. Yeah, tempura is nice. The thing with tempura batter, though, is you have to bring the batter to the stove, and you have to lift it out of the tempura batter and drop it into the hot fat, and that can be a bit dicey. In this way, with the anglaise method, it comes out of the breadcrumbs and onto a tray. Tempura, you have to bring the batter to the stove and drop the flour and the batter right into the hot oil. And of course, it looks much different. Oh, did I mention I was going to add just a little more basil in my filling? So the recipe will be up. We have the recipe already. I gave it to them earlier today. So it's a nice filling. You can fill these ahead of time, the lovely summer squash blossoms, and then refrigerate them filled, and then bread them, and then bring them over to the stove. So we're going over to the stove now to pan fry them. So I had this on earlier. Let's see if it's still hot. It was smoking earlier. I turned it off. But when you fry something, it's important you have a stable, a thick bottomed skillet, not a saute pan. You want a sautoir like this, straight-sided pan. This is a brazier, rondo, 2 handles. Any pan that you fry to get a cast iron skillet, you can fry in that as well. Just make sure it's safe. Watch the dog or the kids or whatever else is running around the kitchen. You don't want to splash anyone. If I was doing tempura, I'd have to take them out of the batter while it's wet and drop them in. It's a bit messy, so yeah, you can do tempura. So there isn't much to it. The beautiful squash blossoms are so nice. You can, if you flour and egg wash them and you cook them unstuffed, they're flat and they're great for hors d'oeuvres. Right, Chef Susie will tell you that when she does her baking class at 6 p.m. tonight. So if you're going to join us for our baking session, it's at 6 p.m. Central Time, so we moved it up an hour. And that way I can watch it so I don't have to stay up too late and miss my beauty sleep. So once they're golden and brown, and I fill them, and I let them set room temperature for about an hour, and then they cook it really quick. It's what we call the ricotta, which is a cream, like a cream cheese. And this is a nice treat to get these summer squash in the market.
What type of oil are you using?
All right, so with this, since we're not eating the oil, and in fact we are eating the oil, but since it isn't a saute, we can use a frying oil, like a corn oil. I actually have a corn oil I use for that. Then I added just a little olive oil to that, a little pure olive oil. You don't need to use extra virgin to fry in. So this is sort of like a shallow fry, right? If I was going to do the tempura, I would need to make sure it was deep fried, it's a little deeper. So let them simmer up nicely. Check the heat. If it's bubbling, then you know it's cooking. So these are brown. Take those out. So I have enough oil. The question was, how much oil am I using? Just enough to come up halfway to the little, what you would call it, the zucchini blossom. Just enough oil to come up halfway. So Chef Susan and I were chatting earlier about how much we love these and how it's even easier not to stuff them if you don't wish to. But it really amazes people. They go, oh, those coconut shrimp. No, they're not. It's a zucchini blossom. Really? What is that? So I guess it really will surprise folks who haven't had something like that before because it's kind of unique, right? So we turn the oil off, let that sit aside. I'm going to just move this out of the way. I'm going to push it over.
Why aren't you using a deep fryer?
So someone asked the question, how come or why am I not using a deep fryer? seen those home deep fryers. They're really nice to use. You certainly can use a home deep fryer, you bet. I don't happen to have one. Otherwise, I'd use it. So I'm going to get a little piece of paper to light the pilot. It likes to go off on this while we let our zucchini blossoms drain. So they know I'm a pyromaniac, so they watch me here. Set the place on fire. I'm going to put that, not in the garbage can, I hope, but in the water. Doesn't catch the garbage can on fire. So I'm on to the next dish. I want to preheat a saute pan.
What would the flavor and consistency of the center be like?
All right, so someone asked a great question. What would the flavor and the consistency be like in the center? So I'm going to show you that right now. Since it's a cheese filling, you know, many times you may have had, you know, when you have a cherry tomato filled with cheese, or gougere, or perhaps you had another soft filling. It's kind of unique. It's crispy. At the same time, it's also soft inside. So we're going to taste one. And it's nice because it's vegetable, and you don't have to use cheese fill. Let's taste one and see. Nice and crunchy. That hard to describe green flavor, right? Like what does asparagus or an artichoke taste like? Well, you know, it tastes like an asparagus or an artichoke. In this case, you have that nice floral vegetable flavor. Beautiful. Very delicate because the stamina is still in the squash blossom. What a great flavor. It's a beautiful edible flower, really nice. I speak with Chef Thomas earlier. He says that they fill them sometimes with meat or beef. That's a nice idea too. So, those are wonderful.
What other fillings?
A nice, hot, creamy center.
What other fillings can we use there?
So, another filling you can use is a beef filling. Or pork filling, or no filling at all, but or chopped shrimp filling. So these are great. Looks like a jalapeno popper, right?
Do you or how do you clean the blossoms before you?
Someone asked, how do we clean the blossoms before we use them? Well, all I did was dip them in some cool water. That was it. Let them sit on paper towels to drain. Because if you wash them, it kind of breaks them up. But we did rinse them in cool water and take them out, let them drain. So those are great. Those are beautiful summer hors d'oeuvre. And if you just do flour and egg wash and don't fill them, they have a beautiful lacy egg omelet-like appearance. So think about that too. Let's go on next to dandelions. So someone asked, are they very fragile? They, I went to the store today. There was a new fellow was the checker, and being trained by the assistant manager who I see all the time because I'm in the stores 2 or 3 times a week. And he said, oh, would you like to put those in a separate bag? And I said, yes, they're kind of delicate. They're not as delicate as you would think. I guess if you're handling flower blossoms, it'd be the same idea. So I carried them upside down. I put them in my cart. Like when I buy flowers, I carry the flowers upside down so the stems don't fall over. So not as delicate as you think, but I said be careful, and he put them in a separate bag. He offered that so they wouldn't get crushed. Yeah, so those are nice. We're going to enjoy eating those. Zucchini blossom stuffed with cheese a little later on. You can drizzle any kind of sauce you want on that of your choice. Now, someone asked if we can put a tofu filling in that. Well, you need to take the tofu, process in the blender or a food processor to get it pulverized, and figure out what flavor profile you want. Maybe you want to put some mirin in there. Maybe you want to put sesame oil. Maybe chopped shiso leaf in there. And then you always want to think of the flavor profile of the dish. What am I trying to achieve? Is it European, Eastern Mediterranean? Is it Southeast Asian? Is it Northern Pacific? Yeah, that's a great idea to fill it with tofu. Yes, and think of the flavoring you want in there. Maybe you want to put a little preserved lemon chopped up, some za'atar, and maybe a little tahini paste. Wouldn't that make a nice filling? That's a great suggestion. See, I learn something new every day by your asking questions, and it really helps me. It helps us too, right? That's what Escoffier Online is all about, a community of cooks. That's what we're doing today and each and every week. So we're happy to take as many questions on those beautiful zucchini blossoms as we go forward. Now, I was in my garden today, and my wife said, pull all those dandelions out, they're weeds. And in fact, I didn't, but I went to the store and bought some dandelion today, and it's also a summer vegetable. And the dandelion flower, you see them. They have red and green dandelions. I bought red and green dandelion. I'm going to cook those in relatively high heat. So with dandelion, trim off the ends, cut them in 4-inch pieces. And I'm going to put the fan on. It's getting hot over here. Cut them in, especially this wok, produces lots of heat. So I took the dandelion, cut off the root end, washed them well, and about less than a tablespoon of salt per bunch of dandelion. I let them soak for about 10 minutes in that cold salted water. The salt helps wilt a little bit and drains out some of the dirt. I wash them again. Then I cut them into 4-inch pieces. And then put a big pot on the stove of water, about a gallon of water. And I cooked, as Escoffier says, English style, vegetables, boiled, right? So I simmered them for about 3 or 4 minutes until they were tender. So I pre-cooked them until they were tender. And I drained them, shocked them in ice. Any green vegetable, with a green vegetable, you always want to shock them in ice. Cook green vegetables uncovered, salt in the water, right? Uncovered. And when they're tender, take them out and put them in ice right away so keep a nice green color. You can see that we got here. So a nice green color. Stems and the leaves of the dandelion. So what do I have for that? I have some olive oil, salt and pepper, a little hot paste. Someone asked, what's the preserved lemon? Preserved lemons, lemons been preserved. They're usually sold in Moroccan, North African stores, Arabic markets carry preserved lemon. It's lemon that's the meat has been taken out. They put into a brine and sugar, and they give foods. Moroccan cuisine uses them a lot, and cuisine of the Berbers in Northern Africa. It gives their food a great flavor. And that would be, of course, a nice flavor profile for if you're going to stuff the summer squash with tofu, some preserved lemon, maybe a little za'atar, which is a sour cherry, a bitter seasoning, and salt and pepper. So, preserved lemon. Moroccan, in Chicago, there's 2 Moroccan stores. I actually picked up some spices a few weeks back. I bought a tagine pot. I'm really excited about that. Use it to make a nice chicken tagine. So back to our dandelions. So we blanched them, we drained them well. There's still a little water there, that's fine. We'll pour some of that water out. Drain them well. Chopped onion, chopped garlic, some nice diced tomatoes or fresh Romas, about 15-ounce can, salt, pepper. You can use cayenne pepper, just a little chili paste if you want, just a little bit. This is a bitter dish. They're bitter greens. Bitter greens are used in Eastern, Southern, Mediterranean cultures as a cleanser after protein. So they can be a bit bitter. Just be mindful, a little goes a long way. And if you've had broccoli rabe or broccolini or escarole, Southern Mediterranean, Eastern Mediterranean dishes like that bitter green. So has a nice tanginess to it, and it's a nice change from sweet herb vegetables. Oh, and some sugar. So that cuts it. A little sugar cuts some of that bitterness. So someone just asked, what exactly is a dandelion? Well, a dandelion is a weed, right? And they grow throughout most of the world, though dandelion has pointy spokes and sides to it. So it's bitter, and in the summer and spring they grow them, they come out, and yeah, it's a bitter green. That's what a dandelion is. And of course, some cultures make, in the spring, they collect the dandelion, make a wine from it. So that would be Southern, Eastern European, and Southern Mediterranean. So yeah, it's summer vegetable that we like to use. A little bitterness, a little tartness, a little sweetness, a little spice, and everything nice, right? I said, Mark, please don't tell us any more jokes, all right? We just prefer you to cook, right? So in the meantime, that wok is getting hot. I like the wok because, well, it gives me the ability to put a lot of veggies in there. And that can get screaming hot. This dish, we don't want to burn the dandelion, but we don't want to have any liquid. We want to make sure the liquid is removed as we're cooking. So I'm just waiting to see how hot this gets. Of course, this is the Beijing wok. It has one handle, right? So I like to use that for any kind of cooking. So it's getting pretty hot. We'll see how hot it is when we put some of the, this is olive oil. So that's smoking. That's smoking hot. So let that cool off a little bit. Good to have a nice heating system, a vent system in your kitchen, right? I'm sorry, Dennis, what was that question?
How much do dandelions cost? Are they very expensive?
Oh, no. These dandelions, I had a whole bunch at $1.39. It was a pound. It was 1 pound, $1.39. I bought two of them. I bought the red and the green dandelion. So we get a little heat. So I turned it up. So we added our Bermuda onion or red onion and some chopped garlic. The other item I have for this, at the end I'm going to add some chopped up canned artichokes, in the brine. A little Parmesan cheese as well as a garnish. So I think what's nice about this dish, with the addition of either chili powder, I don't mean the Tex-Mex chili powder, with the addition of a hot pepper paste or the addition of cayenne pepper, it gives a little character since it's bitter, right? Onions make it sweet. The garlic will make it sweet as well, right? So any skillet works well that you may want, right? Any skillet works well. So I cook that. I'm going to take just half of it out because I'm going to cook half of my dandelions first. Half and then half again because it won't all fit. A little more oil. Probably 2 tablespoons all told for this. Add our tomatoes to that. There's some water, so be careful. So we also want to get the tomatoes a little caramelized. And this is a thin rolled steel wok, so it really can give me some nice heat and even spaces. I guess even cooking because it's a even bottom. So this is a nice dish. It's almost like a braise, I guess you could say, but it's more of a saute. It's somewhat of a braise. There is some liquid from the tomatoes. As we did before, we made the braised veal dish last week, and we did the beef stew. A braise means there's partial liquid that helps it cook, and a stew means it's completely submerged. So most of the liquid in this has evaporated. So accurately, we're not braising a vegetable because there's no liquid here. Let's now add half of our greens. We'll cook them in 2 batches. I'm going to add some of that red pepper paste to that, give it a little character. So maybe about a teaspoon. That's a half a teaspoon, so 2½ teaspoons equals 1 teaspoon. I didn't hear anything you said, Dennis. You need to come closer.
Olive oil is one of the lowest cooking points. They say, what other oil can we use?
Yeah, wok is high heat, and olive oil also has a high smoke point. But certainly peanut oil has a higher smoke point, right? So olive oil, while it has a high smoke point, peanut oil has the highest smoke point. And that's why Chinese chefs will use peanut oil for searing. When you go into an Asian restaurant and the meat's nicely seared, that's because they have, 100, 120, 200,000 BTUs. This is about a 35,000 BTU burner. So, it's hard to replicate that searing action that you see in Asian restaurants that stir fry because of the opening of the gas. At home, I think it's maybe 18,000 BTUs. So you don't get that nice sear. But certainly this is more preferable, this flame, than my home burner, right? So I can put more in the pan. Let's taste that and see how it tastes. Someone asked what chili paste I was using. That was sambal olak, it's Indonesian. That's good stuff, wow. Bitter, but sweet. Yeah, I'm liking that dish, it's very tasty. Let's dish that up and I'm going to cook the other batch too while we're talking. Put some oil in there. All right, so we have this dish. This is nice as you see it, as it is. Now, I wouldn't serve this to someone who doesn't like greens, right? Or still doesn't like vegetables. It'd be someone that has had escarole before, or kind of like spinach. Not too many people, right? Certainly not kids. But someone that, likes a little tart, little bitterness in their greens. It'd be great for them to taste that. A little adventurous diner, right? A little adventure. It's certainly used as a digestif, why greens are served with proteins, and why some Europeans have this salad after the protein, because the chlorophyll and what have you that are in green vegetables helps digest the protein. So this is a process whereby the greens help digest the protein. And that's good gastrointestinal health. I hear what you said. Can we use peanut oil? Oh, can I put peanuts in there? Yeah, the fan's on. Yeah, so you can put peanuts in there for sure. Or maybe some cashews, right? That's a great idea. Let's get that flame up some more. Then we're going to go over here in a few minutes and dish up our food. In a few minutes, we're going to come up and dish up our food right there on the cutting board. Let's add some of those artichokes on there. I'm going to give it one more spin in the wok. Why not, right? One more spin in the wok. With this dish, we don't want any moisture. So we'll toss it around. A little crispiness is nice too with the green. A little crispy texture. And what's nice about this, you serve this hot out of the hot dish. The flavors come through very nicely. I don't think I like cold vegetables too much. So that's looking really nice. Let's taste it again to make sure I have enough hot spices in there. Well, that's nice and bitter. So someone asked what you can serve with that. Somebody can just serve as is, as a green. It's a green dish, a side dish, right? So, I don't know, it's just a nice bitter green. Good after having some beef. You've had maybe fatty beef. You had maybe you had pork ribs with this. We had some short ribs, some fatty. The green will cut that. That's what I would do. I wouldn't serve it with chicken because it kind of would overpower the chicken. So any fatty meat is nice. So now we have this big pot. Let's see if we can fit it all in there. Can you serve this dish with anchovies? Is that what you said?
No, octopus.
Oh, octopus. All right. Well, that's a good idea. If you buy the pulpo, as they call it in Spanish, or you buy the nice. Mostly you get cooked octopus in the Japanese market. That would be nice to add to this, you bet, especially the tentacles. Woo, this is going to be a nice dish for sure. So you add the pulpo or the octopus tentacles to that, the nice red color that you get. That should be really great. So now, let's bring these two dishes over and take a peek as we wrap up this session. All right, so.
Did you sprinkle it with salt or sugar?
So someone asked, did I sprinkle it with salt and sugar? You bet, I added salt and sugar. The sugar will help cut some of that bitterness, right? And that's important in greens. If you're going to do collard greens or mustard greens, which I like to do in the fall. So those two greens, even radish greens, sometimes beet greens. Sugar is very important to have, and some fat. That cuts many times, that spicy, tangy, bitter flavor. So yeah, so that's our two dishes for today. Our summer vegetables. Just a beautiful dandelion greens, spiced dandelion greens with an artichoke and tomato. And then we're going to enjoy our wonderful zucchini squash blossom stuffed with cheese and pan fried. And I want to say it's been great cooking with you today, and look forward to ask more questions while we're here. I'll be chatting soon. If you have another question coming up, I'll be happy to take that question.
Could we If we wok this in ghee,
So someone asked, can they cook it in ghee? Sure, because Ghee, ghee, is clarified butter. So a lot of stores will carry ghee, clarified butter, and that is nice as well. So olive oil would be for Mediterranean countries, and ghee is for the subcontinent, India, Pakistan, that part of the world of Tibet, where they use clarified butter. And that also has a high smoke point, so that's a great thing to bring up. The clarified butter or ghee has a high smoke point and gives it nice buttery flavor. That's a great question.
what wine would you use?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. What wine do you use? Let me go get it. So I'm going to serve a Chardonnay with my little chickadee, my tiny little things I have here, the little zucchini blossom poppers, right? Like the jalapeno poppers. You see that's a little zucchini blossom. So that's really beautiful. See the nice golden color from the leaf and the leaf itself? Isn't that beautiful? I'm going to have a glass of some wine here. Now with the bitter green, you're going to find that bitter greens don't do well with anything that artichokes and asparagus and spinach, and the bitter greens don't do too well with wine. They need like bread and butter with them or some other fat. So let's taste that and see. The floral aromas are wonderful in that. Crispy friedness. The live, fresh breadcrumbs, very different. Nice clean taste. And we have a Chardonnay, Chateau Saint Michel. It's a Washington State Chardonnay.
What came first, stir fry or saute cooking?
So someone just asked the question, what came first, the chicken or the egg? No, they said, what came first, stir frying or sauteing? Well, it's going to have to be stir frying because the Chinese were cooking 5,000 to 6,000 years ago using a wok. The wok's at least that old. So I think stir fry came first, but the French verb to saute means to jump. So at some point, the Gauls learned how to cook and saute, maybe many centuries later. So stir frying came first, sauteing came second. It's the same idea to jump in to move products in a little amount of fat with high heat. That's the idea.
Can I serve it with saffron rice?
So someone just commented, can they serve the dandelion with saffron rice? You bet. That'd be a nice counterpoint, a nice counterbalance to the bitter greens, especially with the garlic, the anchovies. Did I say anchovies? I meant to say artichokes. I have anchovies on my mind. Someone asked me this week, can we put anchovies in a beef stew? I didn't know how to answer that. So has anyone ever heard of anchovies in a beef stew? Let me know so I can answer this person appropriately. But yeah, saffron rice would be very nice in that.
Can you use coconut oil?
Someone asked, can we use coconut oil? That has a high smoke point as well, and that works fine. It's used throughout Southeast Asia. The amount of coconut oil you're going to eat on any given day of the year is minuscule, so you wouldn't worry about it being monounsaturated, polyunsaturated fat. So any of those things, any of those oils will work fine. So, a few more questions while we're, go ahead, fire those questions up.
All right. Can you use Szechuan rice?
I never heard of Sichuan rice. I don't know what Sichuan rice is. Of course, I know what Sichuan cuisine is, but never heard of Sichuan rice. So what's nice about this Chateau Saint Michel Chardonnay is a nice apple buttery taste to it. Goes really nice with the zucchini blossoms. And I can't wait to dig into those greens. They'll be tart and bitter, but they'll be great, very healthy, and very flavorful.
Our student said it's popular in China, the Szechuan rice.
Great. Someone said that Sichuan rice is popular in China. I would think so since, yeah, it's in the Sichuan province, you bet. So sure, why not? Any kind of rice will do. We'll be happy to serve any rice you like to make with it. So, It's a nice compliment. What's nice about rice is that the starch will balance the bitterness, so it's always a great combination for sure. So any kind of rice will work. Any kind of cooked rice would be great.
Can I add black pepper instead of cayenne?
Someone wanted to know if we can add black pepper instead of cayenne. Sure, why not? Black pepper will be fine. The thing with black pepper is it kind of tends to burn the front of the mouth, black pepper, and the cayenne pepper kind of affects the back, so it gives it a full mouth feel. So yes, of course, any pepper you want to use would be fine. You bet. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for all those great questions. We really appreciate your asking them and sharing with us your knowledge about cooking. It really helps all of us. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at chefmark@escoffieronline.com, and I'll be happy to answer your cooking questions. Don't forget to check out our site, learntocook.com, on YouTube as well. And also look at our apps we now have available for free through iTunes. There's Cook's Companion and other Escoffier apps free for your iPhone and now your tablet. So we'll take one more question as we finish up for today.
This is a comment. I found that anchovies melt into sauces, and when they're paired with tomatoes and garlic, even anchovy haters won't know it is in there. Therefore, it can be added to beef stew.
Someone said yes, anchovies can be added to a beef stew because it'll meld with other flavors. Great, thank you for that tip. I'll answer that person appropriately regarding anchovies and beef stew. So nice to have you today. Thanks for joining us. And I'll be on the chat in a few minutes to chat with you through typing. And have a great time. Happy cooking, and we'll see you next time. All right? Bye-bye.